At the DA's election manifesto, we're joined by the party's mayoral candidate for Tshwane, Solly Msimang. Thanks so much for your time. It's been a long morning for you, of course, but how do you think you did in actually winning over support for the DA today?
Well, the DA and its leadership are ecstatic with our performance today. Remember, we said that we were expecting about 20,000 people. But we had more than 23,000 in the stadium, and we had 6,000 people who were watching from outside in the park. So we are very, very much happy with our performance. And indeed, it shows that we are really moving in the direction that shows that we are growing as a DA. You remember, we've never had an opportunity where the DA has had a stadium event before. We've always had, hall style kind of events. And this was the very first one. And I think it's a historic moment for us.
Now, there's many ambitious targets that you've mentioned, but this is also a basic promise that we hear election time all the time. Fight corruption, create jobs, and provide better services for the public. Do you think you actually have a solid plan to implement this if you are voted into power?
Not only do we have a solid plan, but we have a blueprint from which we can say, here's a reference. I mean, we have done that in a number of municipalities that we are in government. You would have heard that even though the General says that the 9 out of the 10 municipalities that are regarded as the best in terms of performance, in terms of accountability, are DA-run municipalities. And 10 out of the 10 of the worst performing are those of the ANC. So we do have a solid plan. We have a reference, somewhere we can reference and say this is what has worked, this is what hasn't worked, and we know then how we can then take the Democratic Alliance plans to the people, because then we can say to the people, we are not just saying it, but we have somewhere where you can reference this.
All right, give me one aspect of that plan to improve education, for example.
Well, what we need to do, let me take Tshwane as an example. Tshwane is a hub of learning centers of higher institution. What we need to do in Tshwane is to make sure that not only do we make transport available for those that are coming into Tshwane to come and learn, from TEX to TUT to others, many other learning institutions, but we also need to make sure that there's accommodation that is there for these people. We need to make sure that in schools, as an example, as a municipality, we can have electricity supply to the schools. We can have Metro Police officers patrolling the vicinities of where these schools are. Because as I've said before, I don't want Metro Police that are doing fundraising for the municipality. I want Metro Police that will make you and me as citizens feel much safer in the area that we are residing in.
Now, some analysts are saying you really did hit the nail on the head, but there are some aspects of connecting with the grassroots, people on the ground, that you missed out on. For example, you spoke about repairing potholes and providing better transport for people, but really what some analysts are saying is that you haven't connected with people living in rural areas, for instance. What do you think about that?
Well, look, I mean, you need to look at how do you attract investment. If I'm going to come and open up a company here that has to use freight, as an example, to transport the goods to wherever they need to be going, somebody's looking at me and saying, is this town, good for my vehicles, as an example? I need to make sure that that is taken care of. But you would have heard in Musi's speech, he's talking about even delivering clean, drinkable water. In people of Hammanskraal, as an example, are still subjected to drinking dirty water as it is. So if you are going to talk about rural areas, let us talk to how do we then ensure that we provide the basics of services. But over and above that, how do we then say to business in a world, we are ready to bring investment into our cities so that we can even employ some of those people coming from rural areas so that they can better their lives.
Now, it is normal for political parties, at manifesto launches and campaigning, to take jabs at other political parties. Yes. You rightfully did so and attacked the ANC on many levels. But did you cross the line when Musi Maimane said that to the ANC, black lives don't matter? No,
he never said black lives don't matter. He says black lives do matter. But the way the ANC has treated people, it is as if black lives don't matter.
Yeah, that's exactly what he said. Yes. He said to the ANC, black lives don't matter.
But tell me,
isn't that taking it too far?
No, if you put people, like for instance in Phomolong, in Mamelodi, You put people and take them out of Pumulong and then you put them in Pinasport. And you place those same very people on top of grave sites. Are you saying those lives do matter? Are you saying the families of the people that are buried there do matter? Their feelings do matter? If you're going to subject people of Hammanskraal Company to drink water that has been declared unsafe for human consumption or animal consumption, you continuously, subjecting those people to that kind of water. Are you saying those lives do matter? Then they don't. If you are subjecting people to waiting in long queues in clinics like Pahameng, are you saying those lives do matter? If you are failing to provide the basics of services in terms of the quality of education in the Eastern Cape, where you have the worst performance, in terms of education, are you saying lives do matter? No, you're not.
All right, what about you actually vying for Tshwane? I mean, many people would say it's very ambitious, but what would you do differently there to actually make sure that it's governed properly?
Well, number one, you would know that Tshwane has been regarded as the corruption capital. Number one is to make sure that we make sure that there's no more corruption in Tshwane, because corruption robs the very same people that are the most deserving. Corruption makes sure that the legacy of apartheid continues to live on. But we are saying that we want to break the backbone of the apartheid legacy to make sure that our people will be able to access opportunities so that they can live in a fair society that offers them opportunities going forward. That is true freedom. And the only way you will be able to access that is to make sure that you get rid of corruption that is robbing them of opportunities, that is robbing them of the entitlement, that we are seeking to do that, to give them. So that is what we want to do. And we're going about it differently this time. We are going, not bashing the ANC, but what we are doing is to give people hope. I mean, you can go to any corner of the city and people are saying that, this is done wrong, this hasn't been done, this hasn't been done, we have been promised. What we are saying is, yes, we know that hasn't been done, but here are our solutions.
All right, very quickly, and I'm going to put you on the spot here. Let's just say you had to tweet South Africans right now.
Yeah.
What would be your 160 characters that you'd put forward and write to them to say, this is why you need to vote me into power?
I am not asking you to vote for me until the Son of Man come, but I'm saying hold me accountable. And if I fail to deliver to you, you have a right to vote me out.
All right, thank you very much. I think that was more than 160 characters, but I'll let it go for now. Appreciate your time and
thank you very much. Thank you very much.
All right, that was the DA's mayoral candidate for Tshwane, Solly Msimang.